What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound. Now, I haven't streamed on Twitch in a bit, and part of that was because of the move. So if you see a brand new space behind me, it should look exactly the same as before, because I've kind of set up my office and home studio in a very similar format. So I just don't have the acoustic paneling up, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Literally just finished the move yesterday. So unpacking, getting caught up, and wanted to get back to talking Splinterlands with you guys. So one thing that has been on my mind for a while, and I know that I've kind of hinted at it in bits and pieces in previous videos, is how can we fix DEC without breaking it? That is the biggest that is one of the biggest question marks for me moving forward, just because DEC is such a huge part of the rewards. I mean, it is the only rewards for this game right now when you're talking about the actual play to earn element. Yes, SPS ranked battle rewards are coming soon, but that won't last forever. That's going to be on a diminishing schedule for 5 years. And yes, technically there can be some things implemented, especially with SpS Governance, that could change it so that, there's almost like a forced buyback, or some of whatever SPS is used for transaction is taken away and given out for ranked battles. But a lot of that, I mean, I'm just really speculating on what could potentially be done with SPS in the future. Really, the question is, where is DEC's utility in the long term? Because as the team has said now, the only utility that DEC really has, outside of being the play to earn token that is rewarded, is the airdrop, the SPS airdrop, which is a little disappointing. But we know that the team is trying to add some utility to DEC in the future. So the question is, how do we do that without breaking what's currently there? Let's go ahead and just head over to CoinMarketCap. What's nice to see is that we are up a little bit over the past couple of days. Obviously, Bitcoin is kind of pulling the rest of the market up with it at this time. So 0.003 or a little bit above that, 0.003. So I did a video a little while ago talking about lands and how lands could be used to implement some kind of utility for DEC. I wanted to dig in a little bit on that, not necessarily about the lands themselves, because there's a lot of cool elements and ideas that people are throwing out for lands, and I'm sure the team has been working hard and very diligently on how to implement lands in a very unique and integrated way. I'm going to talk a little bit more high level here in terms of DEC and the utility that we would need to see from it, in a sense. So the reason I say, how do we fix DEC without breaking it, is because everybody has been talking about, oh, the team is going to take DEC off of its peg. Right now, that peg is 0.001, and we are a little more than 3x above it. Back in October, when we were 1.5 pennies, we were 15x above the intended peg price. And again, it's a soft peg, so it's very much subject to market forces. We'll put it that way. So when there was a huge demand for it following the airdrop, that shot the price up like crazy, right? And then as more and more people discovered the game, everybody kept buying DEC. The price kept going up and up and up. And in a sense, there was that double bonus, because not only is the price of DEC going up, but because the price is up, more is being issued. So the market was just flooded with DEC. So long term, that makes me a little worried, because the DEC burn mechanisms, we don't really know where and when those will come into play in the future, outside of what we have right now, which is for guilds and which is for, really just guilds, right? Because Rift Watchers was taken away from the whole DEC side of things. So burns can be implemented for lands. And again, I'm not trying to look too far into lands, although I think that is a good idea if we can find a way to implement it. But when I say breaking it, is that we don't want to take it off of its peg. And the team is very specific and very insistent on the fact that they don't want to take it off of its peg. They want to leave it at that peg, because the moment you take something off of its peg, you kind of shake confidence in the overall structure, and specifically the infrastructure that guides the token. So for example, if the founder of Bitcoin was around and just universally or unilaterally made a decision to change Bitcoin and say, you know what, instead of 21 million, we're going to have 42 million or 100 million. Now, the beauty of Bitcoin is that you can't do that. Literally no one person, even the founder, can come in and do that, because it is that decentralized. And that is why Bitcoin has the value that it does, because it is decentralized so far And so at least to that point where nobody can come in and tamper with it, there's only ever going to be 21 million. So obviously DEC is 100% controlled by the team, meaning that there's zero decentralization when it comes to DEC. And that's fine because it's part of a game and we want, responsible people to be in charge of the token. So moving forward, how do you change the supply demand economics around DEC without taking it off of its peg? Well, really, you just have to apply utility. And I know I'm throwing a bunch of buzzwords out right now that people keep talking about, utility and all these things, but that's what it comes down to, right? When DEC comes off of its intended, when DEC no longer has value as an airdrop point, which will be upcoming in July, it's going to lose a ton of utility at that point. So what I'm hoping and what I'm hoping to see in the future is that we don't take it off of its peg, so that there will always be that kind of downward pressure on DEC. So you keep it at the peg of 0.001, but you find a way to work on the tokenomics so that as the player base grows, the demand for DEC should grow organically. So as it grows organically, as the player base grows, the overall rewards grow. Because right now, if DEC is at its peg, we would be only, however many daily active users, 300,000 daily active users would be splitting $1,000 in daily earned rewards, right, from ranked battles. Back in October, when DEC was 1.5 pennies, it was something like $225,000 every single day in ranked battle rewards. So to go from $225,000 at the height in October down to $1,000 is dramatically small. And it would probably, we'd probably lose a significant amount of the player base because it's just like, it's not worth it to play if what I'm earning doesn't have as much value. I wouldn't be putting as much time into things. So that's a significant risk there if they cannot figure something out with DEC. But I'm confident that they will, just because of the fact that they're talking about it. So obviously they're aware. And even if they weren't talking about it, I would assume that they're aware because this is, this is their baby and they want to make sure that this is something that has long-term sustainability. So the way that I'm seeing it potentially in the future is you create a system where DEC gets burned appropriately, but also is needed and will be needed to be bought off secondary markets. Like people just can't go in and earn the token. Because if people are just earning the token, that's fine. It's being issued. But what you want is as more and more people to come in, there is a higher and higher demand for the token, meaning that they can't just come in and play a bunch of games and get as much as they need for X, Y, and Z, right? And X, Y, and Z is where I'm putting on lands. They would need to therefore buy some from the market, from the decentralized exchanges, wherever the case is, in order to do certain things on lands and then have that be burned. So what we're doing is creating, I guess, constant upward buying pressure to fight the constant downward pressure that the algorithm is spitting out. So what you want to do is find that equilibrium that grows organically. So we're at 300,000 players right now. I think $1,000 in daily rewards is a little too small. I don't know that we can shoot up to 1.5 pennies, but let's say with the 300,000 players that we have right now, it'd be kind of crazy if there was a utility in DEC that people needed to buy it in order to do certain things, and we were able to get DEC back up to 1.5 pennies, or 0.015, however you want to look at it. That would mean that there'd be $200,000 plus in rewards every single day, right? And this kind of gets exponentially crazier and crazier as it goes up because it's not linear. As DEC goes up in price, there's exponentially more DEC issued, right? So there has to be a fine balance here where we're not just going to get flooded with a ton of DEC. But the thing is, I'm not saying that that's a perfect situation, but let's say 300,000 players and there's $225,000 in rewards. Actually, that's a ton of money. That's close to like $1,000 per player per day, which at that point we're just printing money. So that's way too high. But I'm giving that as a small example, right? Or simple example, I should say. Because let's say once we are up to 600,000 or 500,000 players, we would want the utility of DEC to be to a point where people are buying it so that the equilibrium price point is at maybe 2 cents, right? And therefore more DEC is being printed, but also more DECs being printed, but also, there's more of it to go around. Or sorry, not more of it to go around. There is more of it to go around, but more players that it needs to go to, right? There'd be 60% more players, or 67% more players at that point, going from 300,000 to 500,000 players, and on and on and on, right? So we would want the price of DEC to actually continue to go up as the player base grows up, not in a pump and dump way, but really in a way that it finds some sort of equilibrium with the rest of the ecosystem and the economy within Splinterlands. Like, it needs to be something that people aren't just buying to load up on for the airdrop and then potentially dumping on the market at some later point. It needs to be something where, okay, we buy it and then it's burned, or we buy it in the whatever. And as more and more players come in, more and more players want to buy it and need to buy it, not just win it, right? Like, you can win some, but you also will need to burn some as well. To buy some as well, to keep that pressure going up, keep that upward buying pressure. So that's how I'm thinking about it. And again, I don't have any specifics. I don't work for the team. I don't work with the team at all. So it's more so I'm just trying to think about, if I was the one designing the tokenomics behind it, then that is what my focus would be, and what I would assume the team is kind of thinking around as a general framework. Now, I'm glad that I am not the one putting this together, because it sounds like I shouldn't put it that way. I'd be happy to chat with anybody that wanted to talk about this and kind of spitball ideas, just because I love this stuff. But I am happy that Yabamat is the one focusing on this, because I think he's obviously got a great grasp of where the ecosystem was, where it is now, and where it could potentially be going in the future. I love the fact that he now has the time to really think this through. And hopefully, we're going to get something in the next 6 months here, once the airdrop ends, that will be a good shift for DEC, where we don't have to break the system in order to keep value within it. So that's all I have for you guys in this video today. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next one, and I will see you around the game. Take care.